Take a seat.
Hello there.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Now, whatever your guys' views are on The Last Jedi, or where Disney is going, or how Star Wars is currently, we all know that there's a big division. Here are 15 ways that I think Disney could make billions while bringing the fandom back together as one. I want to give a list of some films I think should have their own spin-off film. And at the very least, I'm hoping that Disney watches this video so they get some ideas on what we want going forwards. Obviously, comment down below which film you want to see the most, so without further ado, let's get started. In no particular order at all, the first is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
Now obviously, more than any spin-off that I would ever want to see, I want to see an Obi-Wan film. I want it to cover his time between episode 3 and episode 4, where he's haunted by what Anakin did and what he did to Anakin. I can't imagine the kind of stress and nightmares that he must have had in that desert from seeing Anakin's face burst into flames along with the rest of his limbless body. There's tons of depth we can see with Obi-Wan here. I think it would be really different and show us such a deep side to his character as he battles emotionally with his mental wounds. In the comics, he would watch over Luke day and night and would try to hide his Force presence from people in Mos Eisley and the rest of Tatooine. He'd make friends with the Jawas and fight the Sand People just to stay in shape. I really want to see him talk to Qui Gon Jinn, and maybe we'd even see Yoda in there. There's such a big gap there and so much potential to give us almost anything, and to have Darth Maul return too, as he did in Rebels, would be really nice. 2. Count Dooku. This one's pretty interesting to me. I want to see him train as a Padawan and become the respected Jedi Master that he was. I want to see his relationship with Yoda, his master, as he learns from him. I want to see his side of why he left the Jedi Order, which we already know the rundown, which was because of their obsession with politics and overall dogmatic view about the Force. However, to see it on screen as a young Christopher Lee lookalike would be really cool. I also want to see him meet Qui Gon Jinn and train him in the ways of the Force, which leads us to our next spin-off, Qui-Gon. I want to see him trained by Count Dooku, but most of all, I want to see him meet Obi-Wan and train him. I think there's such a massive gap there before The Phantom Menace that Disney, if you're watching this, which I hope you are, guys, share it around with them. You guys can literally create an amazing story and world just like you've already done in the Star Wars comics before Episode 1. In Legends, Qui-Gon actually has a love interest of his own named Tal, and when she dies, he is so close to turning to the dark side but refrains it at the last second. It's such an emotional part of the comic and just really makes you think, what if Qui-Gon actually did turn to the dark side? What would have happened? It ends up eating him up inside for days to come until he eventually just snaps out of it. Qui-Gon wasn't on the Jedi Council, and that was his own doing. I want to see his reasons for it on screen. Plus, what his Force powers are like considering he has a green lightsaber, which means that he's strong in the Force. 4. Anakin Skywalker.
What will happen
Now, I know what many are thinking. We have like 6 episodes of Anakin. Well, no, not really. We don't have Anakin after The Phantom Menace up until Episode 2. This is where him and Obi-Wan have to go on so many different missions together across the galaxy. These are some of Anakin's first ever missions into Jedihood. I want to see him use the Force for the first time. I want to see him build his first lightsaber like we did in the comics. I want to see how he battles between knowing what the light and dark is, as in the books he even lit an opponent on fire just by becoming extremely angry. Obi-Wan was super upset, but it was still something that was really shocking to read about. Mind you, of course, this is all Legends, but it's still really cool nonetheless, and the possibilities here are endless. So Disney, get on it. 5. Darth Maul. Of course, this goes without saying, along with Kenobi, I really want to see Maul, not just after The Phantom Menace, but before it. Maul was my favorite new character when Episode 1 came out. I think his life as he trained to become a Sith would be absolutely amazing to see, and just something really different. Him meeting Palpatine, him being tortured by Palpatine, him being trained and becoming this ruthless killing machine that he ended up becoming. How he built his double-bladed lightsaber in canon this time, and everything else that we don't know about him yet. The canon comics covering him are pretty cool, but to see him on screen is just a menacing and powerful thing that I can't really explain, and you can't get the feeling of just from reading a comic. Plus, those comics just cover him a little bit before The Phantom Menace. I want to see Maul as a child and basically taken into Sithhood, almost if you will, kind of like how Gamora was with Thanos